Hello, everyone, and happy Monday in keeping with the holidays because we are now well into December and Christmas is just around the corner for those of you who do celebrate that. I wanted to take some time to talk about how to deal with toxic family members over the holidays. Now, I made a video last year, which I will just link above here, discussing a similar topic, but it was really regarding how to deal with your mental health over the holidays. I want to get more specific this year and really talk about what do we do in those awkward situations when we clearly have family members who are toxic, who don't respect our boundaries, and who are imposing their shit onto us. I want us to collectively address the fact that, first of all, not all families are perfect, okay? The holidays are a really shitty time for a lot of us, and I think that developing this kind of sensitivity around this time of the year is the first step. It's acknowledging that not all families wake up and have matching pajamas and watch fun movies together and have an awesome day where it's drama free. There's a lot of people who have really messed up family dynamics and who maybe even spend the holidays alone. So that would be number one, and addressing also the fact that the holidays for a lot is not a happy time. It can be really stress inducing. So how do we know if someone in our family is actually toxic? Okay, there's a few things that you might recognize. You might recognize that they're often criticizing you, that they use triggering words even though you've asked them multiple times to stop using those words. They might have an overly domineering personality. They might take up a lot of space, not be very open-minded. And so those are some of the traits maybe of people in your family, in your environment, that you recognize that could potentially be toxic for yourself. The first thing that we need to do when it comes to toxic family members or friends or families or whatever it may be is to figure out our boundaries, okay? So even before communicating those boundaries to our family, we need to firstly determine where our boundary lies. Some good indications might be that when something happens, you might feel angry, you might feel really anxious or really uncomfortable. So it's getting to know yourself to figure out when that boundary has been crossed, because everyone is different. It's not because something is a breach of boundary for you that it's going to be for someone else. And so we need to really hone in, tune into ourselves, feel those sensations, feel the discomfort, feel the anger, and identify what are the sensations that are telling me that a boundary has been crossed. And when we can figure out where our boundaries are, then we are better equipped to communicate those things to our family members. So the second thing to do after you have figured out where your personal boundaries are and perhaps attempted to communicate those things to your family members would be to not act as if the way that they are doing is acceptable. What I mean by this is your aunt or your grandma or someone in your family might make a remark regarding your weight, your body image, the amount of food that you're eating or not eating, and that is toxic and that's triggering because maybe you're dealing with body image concerns or whatever it may be, and you kind of just laugh at their behavior and you make light of it. This sends them the signal that, okay, what I just said is acceptable, we're laughing about it, everyone is talking about it now, it's fine. And as difficult as this may be, it's all about being consistent with the response that we're giving to them. So whether that's choosing to not respond, right, ignoring the comment, whether that is blatantly telling them, hey, that's really uncool, I'm actually struggling with those things, can we not talk about that, can we stop making jokes about that? Whatever your response may be, it needs to be in alignment with your boundaries, and it needs to be clear so that family members understand that this is not an acceptable behavior. Thirdly, we need to recognize that their issues are not our issues. And so while sometimes it may suck because even though we've communicated our boundaries, we're not responding to them in a way that confirms that whatever they're doing is acceptable, they may keep going with the thing. And at this point, we need to recognize that, okay, I can't control what they tell me, I can't control what they're speaking, and I'm also in control of my reactions, of what I choose to do with this. So it's learning to distinguish someone else's issues and not allowing it to become your problem. The next thing would be to avoid as best as possible conversations or topics that are highly triggering. I know that this is not always possible, this is not always feasible or easy or accessible, and we can also have this conscious that these are things that do not sit well with me, and so I will make the effort to not bring those up. Lastly, you can give yourself permission to simply not have a relationship with them. Toxic people are toxic, and it doesn't mean that just because we're related to them, we need to subjugate ourselves to abuse. Toxic people, the fact that they're toxic, it doesn't mean that they're bad. It may just mean that there's some underlying things that they don't have the awareness of, or maybe it's the relationship that we've established over time that has become toxic because at some point we didn't have the capacity or the skills to communicate our boundaries, and so we almost fed into the toxicity of this relationship. I'm not saying that this is the case at all times. By no means. There's times where someone is just abusive and it has nothing to do with us. And in those circumstances too, once again, you're allowed to give yourself the grace and permission and peace to step away from those relationships to make sure that you are keeping your peace, your integrity, your sense of balance and wholeness. Do not subjugate yourself to abuse just because there's a societal pressure to be with our family during the holiday. Now, this was just a very quick video to give you some tips and tricks on how to deal with toxic people over the holidays. I'm curious to know from all of you, what are things that have worked? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm always looking for new tips and tricks, and it'll be not only very useful to me, but other members in our awesome community. On that note, I wish you all the best holiday period, and I will see you next time for another episode of On the Line.